I would never, ever have imagined that at the age of 40, I would qualify in the fitness industry as a personal trainer.
Meet Lavina Mehta, MBE.
She is a personal trainer
and wellness coach
who will help people of all ages to exercise for sanity, not vanity.
The biggest predictor of our long-term health is your health in midlife. So we've got to start thinking about your health span versus your lifespan. Do we just want to age, or do we want to age well and in good health and not be a burden to our loved ones as well, and remain as independent and as healthy as possible?
Why would you be making lifestyle choices that are ultimately going to result in a 10-year prison sentence of having to be alive but not enough to live?
I want everyone to know what a game changer it is.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Unlock Your Potential. This is Jeff Lerner, your host. So excited to be back with you once again, having amazing conversations with amazing human beings. Today, we are joined by Lavina Mehta, MBE, and I'm going to hone in on that and give her a nice little ribbing like I promised. She is an award-winning personal trainer, wellness coach, and best-selling author on a mission to help all ages feel good physically, mentally, and reduce risks of common chronic diseases through her concept of exercise, snacking, and free chair workouts. We have a really exciting conversation in store for you today. We're going to kind of go where it naturally flows, but we do have a particular topic we might hone in on. I actually do want to start, though, Lavina, by good-naturedly asking you about that MBE designation that, as a dumb American, I had to clarify with you. But tell us a little bit about what that means, and in particular, what you were doing that produced that, because that's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, firstly. It's still pretty surreal. I got awarded the MBE in 2020 during the COVID pandemic, and I had only qualified as a personal trainer at the age of 40. I'm now 46. So going back, 5 or 6 years, it was accidental. It was only because I fell in love with fitness and exercise pretty late in my 30s, and I wanted to just learn about it. So I was a mum to 3 kids. I'd given up my corporate career, fell in love with strength training, which is its own discussion, and sat the PT courses about a year before the COVID pandemic. Just started training some friends, some women, in my home during school hours. Absolutely loved training lots of different women from the age of 30 to 70. Fast forward to when the COVID pandemic was just about, people getting a bit anxious about this new virus in March 2020, and the gyms were closing and people started going to lockdowns. I then decided to just go live. A pretty weird, brave move. I was not planning to be public facing or on social media, but go live with my concept of exercise snacking. And I also was doing daily lunchtime snacks with my husband and son, but also very structured evening workouts. And I then expanded to inviting my she was 73 or 72 at the time, mother-in-law, to do these chair workouts so that we could get pretty much all ages, all abilities joining. And it kind of went viral. I got thousands of people joining, especially from the South Asian community. And I found out about the MBE just in sort of July. So it was very quick. And it was basically an honor. It's a real privilege that I got from our late Queen, and it was for, I guess, all the workouts and the community work that I did over the COVID pandemic. So yeah, there you have it.
So during COVID, you and your mother-in-law were doing at-home workouts, helping people that were all in lockdown work out together over the internet. And you said chair workouts. So some of it was obviously for maybe more elderly people to not have to even get up.
Yeah, it was actually my husband and my youngest son. I should say big thanks to them, because they were outside in the garden doing these crazy ideas of mine, just making things fun, this exercise snacking, which is, all about these short bite-sized amounts of movement that all count. They're as effective, if not more effective, than the hour-long workout that a lot of us, of all ages can't fit in with our busy lifestyle. But I think the powerful bit was when I got my mother-in-law involved. And, now we still go live every Friday on my YouTube channel and on Zoom. I have an amazing community because I didn't want to give that up. Because I have seen incredible people join, and that's up to the age of 100, a lady that had Alzheimer's from like a nursing, residential home here in the UK, which just moved me so much, to people that are, like you and I are right now, sitting, which, we are all sitting for such long periods. I could see you getting up and moving around. So I feel like we need to reduce the amount of time that we're sitting, but sometimes we are stuck on back-to-back virtual meetings, or people have desk jobs. So it's actually exercises that I've got now all ages are using. And I go into companies and I share these desk exercises, I call them, because even those can be better than us just sitting and not moving and using our muscles and our joints and getting our bones strong. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, but it's something that I still continue to do. I'm very passionate about, and I hope it just makes exercise more accessible to everyone.
Well, congratulations, first of all, on just having such a big impact in the world. I have my own thing that I unexpectedly started that COVID lit a fire to story. It's crazy, some of the opportunities and things that, sort of unanticipatedly emerged from COVID. But congrats on all the impacts, and congrats on the MBE designation. As I was, giving you a little bit of a hard time about before we record, I'll share. So MBE, if you're not familiar with that, it's a designation from the British Empire, and there's a ranking system. There's MBE, OBE, CBE, and eventually you can get to actually, this is the same track as like Sir Galahad and Sir Lancelot, like the knighthood of the British Empire. So you're on the track now. That's crazy.
Oh gosh, I'm not expecting to go any further up that track, but I'm very happy and blessed to even have this, amazing honor. For me, it's like, it just gave me more of a mission to try and help as many people as I could. So I've kind of used it to my advantage to then kind of spreading out. I'm now, working with a number of charities like Diabetes UK, Alzheimer's Society, Wellbeing of Women, this menopause mandate, it's different platforms where I feel now I can it kind of gave me that confidence, especially in midlife, doing a new career that was never planned. Like you said, a lot of people found unlocked like a little passion project that now, I absolutely love what I do. But yeah, the MBE definitely opens a few doors just to at least take notice of little Lavina here.
Yeah, it's a good little stamp to put on your business card, right?
Exactly.
So this is extremely on theme for this podcast. Unlock Your Potential. We started this podcast in 2021.
Yeah.
Kind of after, again, not long after the pandemic was a part of unlocking, for me, what's become a purpose-driven movement and business. Yeah. And that's so much of the core, not only of this podcast, but of really the philosophy and the methodology that my wife and I basically exist to evangelize in the world now, and that we do through our platform Entre, which is that every person has some purpose, some purpose, and the Japanese call it ikigai. It's like this convergence of something that we can do that makes an impact in the world, that we're going to feel great about, something that obviously there's a commercial demand for, a way to make a living doing it, something that aligns with our life experience, and that kind of once we find it, it's the lens through which all the past of our life starts to make sense, and we see all the little breadcrumbs that were leading us to this convergence. And we believe this is true for every person. And this whole concept of unlock your potential is really about finding, it's not like find the thing that's out there that might make me happy. No. It's actually find the thing that you were always destined for. Yeah. That a lot of times isn't your corporate job. So I'd love to, before we get into, and I will say, I alluded earlier that there was a topic we were going to try to hone in on. that I think would be really interesting and valuable. And selfishly, it's something I want to learn about as a 40-something male, like this menopause thing that's out there for, women, including likely my wife. And I want to become more educated about that. But before we get into that, and I will say, that's what you've written in a new book that points in that direction, The Feel Good Fix. And I want to hear about that too. But I wonder if we could start with, I feel like there's a story here of you leaving your corporate career and in a way that really embodies what it is that I'm passionate about, shifting into something that felt more purpose-driven. Do you mind telling us that story?
Of course. I mean, I love talking about this because I hope, whoever's listening, watching, and a lot of women, I feel, especially if you have left your corporate role or your old job and maybe gone into motherhood, or for whatever reason, you may have left something and you're feeling a little bit maybe lost. For me, the children, I loved just giving it up. I had a very demanding global role. I used to work for BP as a global project manager, and I tried to do it with the 2 children, and it was a job share. It was a completely, like an environment where flexible working wasn't really put in practice 20 years ago. So I was one of the first, I think I was probably the first project manager in a huge company like BP to fight for a job share. And it was difficult. I ended up doing 5 days work in 3. I then had my youngest son, and I thought, with 3 kids, I can't do it. And I was in a blessed position that my husband said, it's okay, you can give it up and just focus on the children, which I absolutely loved. I did that, for pretty much, must have been like nearly a decade. And I guess this was our plan, like I started off with. But I do feel I want to give some hope to anyone out there, men and women, that may be feeling a little bit stuck, or they've got the little side hustle, that little urge to do something, but they don't have maybe the confidence or the self-belief. I always say to everyone, just go for it, because that's literally what I've done. This has been totally unplanned. I don't have, management. I don't have a team. It's me, myself, and I. I really believe in fate. So, coming from a sort of Indian background where we have, I'm actually Jain, so it's slightly different religion to even Hinduism, but it's quite similar to where Buddhism originated, and it's all about karma and what you do in your life and the purpose, like you're talking about. But I never really realized that until, I think it comes with age and an experience. And now when I look back at the last few unplanned years, that how all those little dots that you're talking about started joining up, and all the people that I've met, everyone that's used my workouts, I thank all the time. Anyone that's following me, on social media, or anyone that may read my book, I feel like I need to thank everyone, because they are part of this journey for me and they are making it happen. But yeah, there's people that I've met that now I think about, it's like, it's not a coincidence. It must have been fate. It must have been meant to happen. And I feel like we all have a gift, something that we need to share with the world. And I just want people to be brave and confident and just sometimes go for it. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work out, but at least give it a shot. So a little bit of an explanation around, what I do. And obviously, for me, the feedback that I get from anyone that maybe has tried an exercise snack, or has read a few pages of the book, or has improved their health through the workouts that we do weekly, that gives me that motivation, that fuel to kind of carry on this journey. And I don't know where it's going to take me. I just know that if I can help one person a day, that's kind of been the plan. After the MBE, I was thinking, I want to get maximum reach, but even one person a day would be just such a lovely thing to do, right?
So I love that. There's 2 things that come to mind, one of which is a shameless plug, that you mentioned people that have this itch, this idea. It's like a vague image of a side hustle or a passion-based endeavor or something. If that's you, I'm not going to not take the tee up opportunity to say, go to designyourlife.com, because this is literally what my platform mantra, this is what we help people do, is operationalize something in their life that combines becoming the best version of themselves, of yourself, speaking to the audience, with how am I actually going to like break the shackles of my current time for money trade that for so many people is the biggest limitation on all their potential, is the fact that they just have to give all their time to their job. So anyway, that's the plug. But the other thing I love about what you shared is it reminds me of the quote from Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, which I will say was one of the catalysts for this vision that Jacqueline and I have with Entre, is like that people need meaning in their lives. And when their whole life just feels like this trading time for money in a job that isn't the purpose of their life, it's just, it's a slow, painful death of the soul, honestly. But in that book, he talks about success and happiness and the joy of life well lived. And it's not something you pursue. It's something that ensues when you start living a life of meaning. Yeah. And so for anybody that has in their head, like, well, you know, they're stuck. It's kind of like the person that says, I don't want to leave the house until I know all the lights are green. Well, then you just never leave the house. If anybody's like, I just don't see the path to how it's going to be successful or how it's going to evolve, you probably didn't see the path either. I know I didn't see the path. The point is, find something that you love that does have some sort of commercial market. It's in a category that someone in the world is interested in paying for, and just start going after it, and the success will ensue versus being something that you pursue. And I love that you just started doing it because you wanted to help people. And now look at you, you know?
Oh gosh. I mean, there's so much even from what you've just said. You know, I remember writing a blog post like early on about passion, purpose, and the path. And, you know, like you're saying, it will come to you, but obviously you've got to work. I have worked super hard. I'm not saying that it's just come to me on a plate. I'm not saying just manifest it and it will come. I do believe in like goal setting because I'm, I guess, an ex-project manager. So I wrote a section in my book about, you know, just things like journaling and gratitude and actually having these sort of SMART goals. I go back to my project management days. And, you know, I don't talk about it in companies I go to now. So, but I think that obviously gives you that focus. So I started setting quite, you know, mad, unrealistic goals. Just like writing the book, that was never planned. I just thought, you know, my mum is a cookery writer. She started a new career. She's always my inspiration. She was just a housewife, and she, you know, was from quite a traditional sort of Indian family, and found her passion on the food side and wrote 2 books after my brother and I got into secondary school. So similar to like when my children got into schooling, I found this, and it's, you know, like women like her, I want, especially in the South Asian community where there was no role models for me. You know, I often get asked that, you know, a traditional career would have been becoming a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer. I would never, ever have imagined that at the age of 40, I would qualify in the fitness industry as a personal trainer. And, you know, there was nobody out there like me. I think that was, you know, one of the things when I look back, there was, that's why I never really found exercise until such a late point in my life. Not that it's ever too late, because I have, you know, 60, 70, 80-year-olds join me on those weekly workouts. But it's, yeah, I think it's, you've got to find your passion. And like you said, the path will come with a bit of hard work and some goal setting, and just kind of just go for it, I hope.
One thing that I'll share with you that I have found interesting to the point of obsession, is this idea of fulfillment, right? That we want a life of fulfillment. We want to feel filled full. We want the emptiness to go away, right?
Yeah.
That when you look up what that word means and where it originates, it actually comes from an Old English word, fulfillon, that means, among other things, your prophecy or your destiny. And so I think a lot of us searching for fulfillment, if that word is suggestive of a really profound insight, which is that it's something that's already been given to us. It's like a prophecy that it predates even our existence, our mortal existence, that we just have to find it. And the clues have been sprinkled throughout our whole life. Like the universe has been trying the whole time to point you toward your destiny. And that's how you experience fulfillment. It's by the fulfillment of your destiny. It's not this like external feeling that you're going to stumble across. You know, the clues are in the past as much as in the present of our life.
I totally agree with you. But unlock that potential, right?
Right.
And yeah, I think when you find your purpose, obviously, you know, people always say, God, Lavina, you're doing so much. And I'm like, actually, you know what? I actually do just love it. And it doesn't feel like work. You know, I know it's sort of cheesy to hear when people say, yeah, I love what I do. And it really doesn't feel like work. But that's honestly what happens, I feel, like when you're on that path.
But it's only cheesy because when people hear it, they roll their eyes and go, oh, must be nice. That's not me. And then they try to arm's length, you know, stiff arm it out to the place of, oh, that's cheesy.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's profoundly incredible. And it's possible for anyone. They just got to and the only way to, the guaranteed way to never achieve it is to stop.
Exactly. Just try. I want everyone to experience this. I think that's what we're really saying.
How many workouts did you do or did you lead before it became something that could end up reorienting your life as opposed to just be something to pass time during a lockdown?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we went live twice a day, but I was telling someone just today on a walk, a friend was asking me the same question. He was like, you know, how did you get the MBE, by the way? And I was like, actually, you know, at the time I streamed so I now stream everything on Feel Good with Lavina. So I made it all kind of my thing, YouTube, Instagram, kind of went on all my platforms. But at the beginning, I was streaming on so many different community platforms. So with the South Asian community, like, for example, I was from a community that has 20,000 people in the UK, and they just put everything out on Zoom because especially South Asians, they really relied heavily on those community centers. And when people went into lockdowns and they couldn't get that social connection, which I've done a whole chapter of research on, which I feel is, you know, that's actually pointing to be so important for our long-term health and happiness. But when we were told we couldn't connect with people and then everyone went online, all these platforms also started doing the same thing. So I started reaching out and saying, I really want to help our community, you know, exercise. It's not just good mentally. So my slogan has been to exercise for sanity, not vanity, because of my own journey. But I believe that's so much with like mental health being such an epidemic of its own. To even boosting immune systems, I did a whole load of research around, you know, the power of movement, and especially with things like COVID and viruses and loneliness, right? Loneliness now, we're in this digital age. There's so many benefits of that community that I then went on to so many different platforms, and then it just started multiplying. You know, then I had people from Kenya, from India, from Europe joining. So that, you know, when I look back, the pandemic had such positive because it gave people the confidence to work out from home, from their gardens, from wherever they could, rather than going to the gym. And it just helped me now break down the barriers of time, cost, and motivation, which are the biggest ones when it comes to exercise, I feel. So I can't really answer it, but probably hundreds of workouts. Yeah, there was sometime 1 week I probably did about 10 to 12 workouts on different platforms. Then I was on social media, then I was like doing radio and TV and just trying to get as much awareness of what I was doing out there.
So that's very illustrative, right? Of kind of what I was saying, that if you had been doing those where the pursuit was monetary or some other traditional metric of success, it probably would have gotten very disheartening to do it hundreds of times.
Oh, yeah.
But if the pursuit was reaching people, helping people, doing something positive in the world, making an impact, then you can be satisfied as it incrementally grows from 1 person to 2 people to 4 people to 8 people, right? And then the success part is what ensues. The impact part is what we pursue, and you just embody that so beautifully. So I'm glad. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great way to look at it. We're very much on the same page about this. Quite spiritual when we look at it this way.
It really is. They say we're spiritual. We're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And it's like, we're here. Let's do something with it. And I've lived this too, where like when you shift your orientation to that, which is so hard to do, especially when you're under pressure of survival, which so many people are right now. It's just, there's this whole fantasy world of things that can start to open up in your life that never could have been predicted or anticipated. And so it's so easy to not do the things because you can't see what that picture is going to look like, but there's no way you could, because you have to become that version of yourself to even have the eyes to see that picture.
100%.
And that's where faith comes in, right?
Yeah.
So how then did the orientation toward menopause come into play? I know and maybe you could talk about your book, The Feel Good Fix. I know it's oriented in that direction, and let's go there where many of us men, fear to tread. It's funny. It's menopause. We have pause. We men have pause to go there.
I know. Well, I'm going for dinner with a WhatsApp group, my neighbors actually, and our group is called Menopause. And unfortunately, my husband's name is Menal. So on his 50th birthday, I was literally saying, it's menopause. So there's been lots of different, but no joking around. I really am happy that we're talking about this, because men need to be part of this conversation just to be able to help all the women in their lives, whether it's your wife, whether it's your daughter, whether it's your mum, or whether it's a colleague, an aunt, a friend. And it's going to affect every woman. Just like the basics, and this is all, and now the conversation in the last 2 years is really, especially in the UK, and I see it in the US counterparts that I see on social media, is thank goodness we are talking about this. But the menopause is actually just a point in time. It's like a day where you haven't had your menstrual cycle for a year. And the perimenopause, which is a word that I had never even heard of, as I think most women, 3 years ago, is actually the lead up in the menopause, and it can last up to a decade. It's very different for every woman. The statistics, in my book, I did a lot of research. So this is the book, and it's, targeted at women, but I get men reading it, using it, especially because all the little snacks are as short as a minute to 10 minutes. Like I always say, just open up, and this is very apt for what we need right now. It's normally something that we need. It's a tech neck stretch snack. So we've been sitting here for more than half an hour, which is my limit. And it's like a 1-minute snack. It's written out like a recipe. It's got a QR code to the videos. It's got exercise snacks. They're all backed by science. So, I really have to get everything that's evidence-based to a whole bunch of mental health snacks, like breathing techniques. This is probably an apt quote for what you talk about a lot, right? What we've just talked about.
Yeah. Don't wait, for anybody that can't see, don't find time for the things that matter. Make time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then there's a whole section on lifestyle, but basically my perimenopause started when I was 39 or 40. So it actually started when I discovered this whole new career path. I just qualified as a personal trainer. I just got onto social media. It was a whole new world. I just thought it was the kind of stresses of the pandemic, everything at once, everyone at home. I've got, 3 boys. It was a difficult time for everyone. And I started noticing my menstrual cycle, firstly, become really erratic. I'm being very open about my symptoms because hopefully it'll be relatable. I started getting anxiety, which I never, ever get, but I just put it down to a whole new world of technology. I was figuring out how to even load things on Instagram at 3 a.m, to Zoom and all these different platforms. And then I started saying in before a few of my workouts, guys, I'm very open on my Instagram, especially. I was like, I'm feeling a little bit anxious. I've never really felt this, but let's go live. And then at the end of it, I would always say, God, we only move for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, but I'm feeling amazing. Those feel good, endorphins have been released. And thank you guys, my anxiety is gone. And I started getting messages from friends saying, Lavina, I've never heard you talk about anxiety. Is everything okay? Are you overdoing things? What's going on? And then other signs like brain fog, which, is a term that a lot of women are now using, but I couldn't describe at the time. I was just forgetting things. And I had the family constantly saying to me, my husband and the kids even, like, Mum, I've told you this. Lavina, why are you not remembering? And it was almost like I could remember certain things, like short term. I couldn't remember things long term. And because my grandmother had Alzheimer's, dementia was something that I actually started really worrying about internally. And that only sort of heightened that sort of anxiety feeling, thinking, I need to be on my A game. If I'm on TV or radio or social media and I suddenly forget what I'm talking about, this could be really embarrassing, right? Sorry. Very embarrassing for me. So I started talking about these things quite openly, and I feel now I'm so glad that, women are more aware of the symptoms. In the UK, I heard there was like up to 60 symptoms, from everything from the typical hot flushes to itchy skin to dry eyes to joint pain. So many different symptoms, but I always want to point out the positives, because I want this to be a positive conversation, that 1 in 4 women may have no symptoms. That's what the minimal research that we have on women's health is showing. And 1 in 4 women may have detrimental symptoms. And it was when I just opened out on social media, I only realized I was in perimenopause about, 2.5 years ago. And it hit me when I watched a documentary that talked about all the symptoms that I just described. And I just burst into tears, to the point where my husband and my youngest son were watching football, which is their passion. And they had to run up and kind of ask me what is going on. They literally held my hand while I was sobbing away and watched the documentary with me. And I opened up on social media the next day in tears saying, I think I'm in perimenopause. And the response, Jeff, was like, it was crazy. I had DMs from women that were really struggling at rock bottom. Like the statistics I've written around my book, it impacts women, their relationships, the divorce rates, in midlife that are initiated by women in this bracket, 55 to 55-year-olds, to women leaving their jobs, like the workplace. And we want to retain women in organizations, all that talent that we're losing. There's like 1 in 10 women, they're saying, have left their jobs. 1 in 4 women are considering leaving their jobs because of menopausal symptoms. So it's an issue that we all need to talk about, which I'm so glad you're letting me do on this podcast, to share all of our experiences, men and women, and learn how we can actually support each other, and also find this toolkit. I want to give a toolkit that is, whether you're on hormone replacement therapy, that's what we call HRT here in the UK, or not. I feel that exercise, lifestyle changes are the foundation that we all need to be doing, men and women in midlife, for our long-term health, for our disease risk reduction, for mental health, many reasons. So that's a little bit of an explanation. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, it was. I think the first thing I really was struck by is that, I think we think of menopause, to the extent that we think of it at all, especially as men, as that's a thing that maybe mid to late 40s is going to become relevant in my life. But what I'm hearing you say is that it actually can start to become relevant as much as a decade before that. Because there probably aren't a lot of people in their 30s thinking about, how is this perimenopause concept going to affect my life? So that's the first thing to realize.
Yes, exactly. And I think I just want to point out there that there's differences in ethnicity as well. So the research is showing that as a South Asian woman, I'm more likely to go through it 5 or 6 years earlier than the average white woman. So the age in the UK for the average white woman is 51. So I'm approaching that point in time menopause now, and I'm 46, and my perimenopause started in my late 30s, around the age of 40. So it's exactly what you said that I point out. And I want women just from like their mid 30s just to be more in tune with their bodies. Like if you're noticing any types of symptoms, just taking a log of it, writing it down, because obviously there's a busy life for most of us at that age. And obviously contacting your healthcare professional. And most importantly, I would say, from my perspective, is getting these lifestyle changes to things like strength training that we want to do from our 30s, because women start losing their muscle mass and their bone density after the age of 30, really. So the more proactive we can be, the more education we can give, younger women in our lives, our daughters, our nieces. I want them to be positive about it. I don't want there to be dread about the menopause, because I hope, me as a case study, even though I had all those symptoms, I still was doing what I love. And I've been following, the toolkit that I've written about, I've researched about so much. I've seen so many women thriving that I want midlife also to be that opportunity where we do thrive, like for men and for women. It's that time where I feel we kind of have that time for ourselves. If you have been a mother, your children might be getting a bit older, you have a bit more time to yourself. It's time to give our health. I've written in the book, the biggest predictor of our long-term health is your health in midlife. So it's really that time that I want us all to invest in ourselves.
Yeah. So one of the things that really, I would say, changed my life not just when I heard it, but when I really stopped to think about it, was this idea that, I don't remember if it was 95% or 98%, but let's go with 98 because it's more dramatic. For 98% of human history, our life expectancy was 35 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And so when I really thought about that, because I think a lot about like the long arc, we think, there's 8 billion people on this earth. Well, there've actually been 120 billion people on this earth. There just happen to only be 8 billion of us right now.
Yeah.
Humanity's a big, long game.
Yeah.
And what is the point? And what is the arc? What is the narrative of us as even being here? And I think a lot that 100 billion humans basically had to die at 35 just to get us to the point where life after 35 was even something we should expect or assume. And so it's almost like the point of humanity was to create a world in which we could have life beyond just biological procreation and perpetuation. Because for the majority of human history, that was the human narrative. It was just like, stay alive long enough to produce another generation that can stay alive long enough to produce another generation, and like, let's just not die off and go extinct. And then eventually we reach this threshold where there's like, suddenly life, just all in the last few hundred years, where now it's like, we might live to be 50, we might live to be 70. Now we'll probably live to be 80 or beyond. So to me, it's like call it life after 40 is actually in my hypothesis, is the point of humanity, was to create this second act and do something meaningful with it. Because the first act for most people is basically dedicated to survival. And so, and it's almost like, perimenopause or menopause, however you want to look at it, is almost like the bell ringing saying, okay, it's time for your second act. Now, what are you going to do with it? And then we have a midlife crisis that functions the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I love it because, I've written about, and I always mention it, the Japanese call the menopause a second spring. And I love that because it's just like you're saying, the second act. And, women are living longer. And I've done a section in the book about your health span versus your lifespan. So we've got to start thinking about, do we just want to age, or do we want to age well and in good health and not be a burden to our loved ones as well? And remain as independent and as healthy as possible. And, the science is incredible. If we, even if we just looked at exercise, regardless of all the other research I did around sleep, nutrition, stress management, and social connection. But, we can reduce risks of so many chronic illnesses. We can reduce risks of premature death. I'm talking like just the 11 minutes of exercise slacking a day can reduce risks of 1 in 10 premature death, the study was showing us. 1 in 20 cases of cardiovascular disease, which is the world's biggest killer. 1 in 30 cases of cancer. So it's like I want to provide like small, easy, accessible, bite-sized things that we can fit into our busy lifestyle. But yeah, exactly that. It is our midlife is that point of reinvention. And hopefully we can unlock people's potential, right?
Hey there, real quick. I just wanted to let you know, I have been concentrating a lot lately on providing tons of value to my text message community. This could be random thoughts. This could be letting you be the first to know about an event I'm planning or a special I'm running or a free training I'm hosting. Anyway, just shoot me a text to get subscribed. The number is 702-996-3926. Thanks so much. Let's get back to the podcast. So I think that, I talk a fair amount about this distinction between health span and lifespan. And in our context, sadly, I suppose, financial resources have so much correlation to people's health span. How healthy a person is in, like, let's say their 60s, in a dramatic fashion that's politically incorrect to say out loud, but it's true. How healthy someone is in their 60s so directly correlates to how much money they have in their 60s. And that's, because like organic food costs more, medical interventions that aren't covered by insurance, but that actually prolong health span, they cost money and it's cash pay and you can't bill your insurance. Like stuff like that is real. That's why we talk about it. But so one thing I'll say is I think that we need another term that is actually meant to be like a little bit of a fear-based term. What do we call the interval between the end of health span and the end of lifespan? Do we call it death span? I mean, I want it to be something so people go, oh, no. I don't want my last 20 years to be that. I want them to be part of my health span, but we need a word to like scare people.
And I agree with you because we're so living in the moment. It's very hard for me to say to 30-year-olds, I want you to be implementing this all early on so that you do have a long, healthy life. But it is sometimes we need to be it's quite morbid, but when I talk about things like diabetes and Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, a lot of people aren't ready to face up to it. But when I look at the elderly especially, I feel like, because I have this connection with them and I see them weekly, on Zooms, and I see my loved ones. I'm in that sandwich generation where my parents are aging and, they're nearly like their 80s, late 70s. And I start seeing the health issues. I can start understanding it a bit more when I see them not able to, I'm thinking, how am I going to be able to get up out of bed, go to the toilet, sit down? I want to do these squats because I'm thinking about longevity, but I know I'm coming from a place where I've got that experience. So you're right, in a way, I really want to get people to listen. You're right, maybe we need to make it a little bit more it's a little bit scary.
What is the difference? But you've done some research. What's the difference between somebody's life expectancy and their health expectancy right now today? Do you have any idea?
I don't. Do you have any latest?
I don't. Let's just throw out a guess of like 10 years.
Yeah.
The average person takes 10 years to go from healthy to dead.
Yeah.
10 years is a long time. You have to commit a very serious crime to be put in prison for 10 years.
Yeah.
And most people wouldn't sign up for that today. They wouldn't say, put me in prison for 10 years. Well, if you wouldn't sign up for that today, why would you be making lifestyle choices that are ultimately going to result in a 10-year prison sentence of having to be alive, but not enough to live?
Yeah. And where would you be living? Who's going to be looking after you? The whole cost of care in old age here in the UK is such an issue. For for our governments, for, like we have care homes here, which my grandmother had to go into one, which is why I want my workouts to be in every care home, just as like a little small token of something that I can give them to maybe just brighten up their days, even if it's just watching me and just smiling, just something. But no, it's this is a big topic, but I want everyone to face up to it, right?
Yeah. And it's like the Navy SEALs. One of my favorite quotes the Navy SEALs say is, by the time it's time to be ready, it's usually too late to get ready.
Yeah.
If you're 75 trying to turn back the clock, like I don't want to say don't try, but dang, it would have been easier to start 30 years ago, So I'm curious for you or from you, women and men in a support role, people hitting this maybe late 30s, early 40s, perimenopause and beyond, if that's the signal, like, okay, I'm entering my second spring. What are some things that people can do? And I know you've written a whole book full of them, but what are some things people could do just from listening to this show to say, okay, I'm going to start now optimizing myself to maximize this second season of my life?
So shall I give a few examples of some little snacks or tools, little hacks that I do?
Yeah.
So I guess sleep is the fundamental. I mean, and that's a big issue I didn't mention with my perimenopause as well. A lot of women really start battling with their sleep, insomnia, or they just don't have enough sleep, good quality sleep. So obviously what we can do is try and encourage a good night's sleep. And I've written a section about that. But once you've hopefully slept those 7 to 8 hours, I've even got a nap snack. So that's something that people can. And I even say in companies, like just the power of a power nap. There's science to show before 3 o'clock, if you just need to hit the pillow or your desk or somewhere for like a 10-minute short nap. Sometimes for women, that's better to do than trying to struggle for that extra hour, when you're like tossing and turning in bed and getting more and more anxious about your sleep like I used to. I wake up, natural sunlight if you can, even if it means just getting outdoors for a few minutes. I've got a dog now, as well as, like having 3 kids. The dog that I was a COVID baby, but it makes me go out. And if you can just get out and expose yourself to natural sunlight, that's going to help your circadian rhythm before midday. That's going to help your sleep. So that's a quick win. That's something free. Just opening your eyes and looking up towards the sun or the sky, even on a cloudy day. Number 2, I guess the thing that I do when I brush my teeth is balance on one leg. And I've written a study in the book that shows if you can't balance, this is morbid again, but if you can't balance on one leg for 10 seconds, you're twice as likely to die in the next decade. So yeah, that probably alarm people, but try it. I'm not saying, even to the people that join me on my workout, in fact, it's never too late to actually start doing things for, even for older people. I've written a section about that. Even like 2 5-minute strength training snacks 3 times a week can really help their muscle mass and bone density. So all these things, I have targets for like different ages based on that study. But balancing on one leg when you brush your teeth, you've got this thing, you're not going to fall over. It's just a quick win. You're just tying it into an existing habit. Things like getting your squats in, which are the king of lower body exercise. When you are sitting for more than 30 minutes, research is showing me in the book that if we can get up and just move for 3 minutes, whether that is a quick lap around the house, whether it's like 10 sit and stands or squats, as I call them, off your chair, whether it's some star jumps, which I actually did 10 seconds of just before I joined this to boost my brain power and energize myself, because it's like the end of the day here in the UK, we're recording this. It's those little quick pick-me-ups. It might be some wall press-ups. It might be just some lunges, some strength moves that we can do that are going to help build our muscle mass. And that's kind of the key to longevity from my fitness perspective. It's really that we want to maintain and build lean muscle mass. Things like having a cold shower, which I never thought I would do, especially with the terrible weather in the UK. But, 10 seconds can be such a great way to just get yourself focused, create productivity, get yourself energized. And things like walking, which are free and that most of us can do. But I even get people to do their steps when they're sitting down on those free workouts I've got on YouTube. But the power of nature, if you can get out for what I call a feel-good walk, and I sort of pretty much post them every day on my story on Instagram, just in the hope that one person it might encourage to go out in nature, because nature has such incredible benefits for our physical and our mental health. So battling some of these, like common perimenopausal symptoms like brain fog, they just get banished when I step out in the cold, in the fresh air, and I expose myself to nature. And it could just be 5 minutes. So there's lots of things in my toolkit. These are just a few examples of things, but I hope that gives you a feel for like how you can piggyback when the kettle's boiling and get some things done, or, in the kitchen. It's like tying it into existing habits is what I'm trying to encourage.
Yeah, it feels like, I will say, and I relate to this, that exercise or movement, I actually like the term movement more than exercise.
Yeah.
But that movement itself has been really, this is the nature of our world. We compartmentalize everything, right? This is my yoga time, and this is my reading time, and this is my time with my kids, and my time with my spouse, and my this and my that. That we've really compartmentalized movement to be like, oh, well, that's a thing I need to block out time for in the morning. And what you're saying is, I feel like, no, as humans, we're designed to be basically in constant motion or near constant motion. And so, a lot of it, I feel like is very practical. As you were talking, I'm like, okay, so it seems like a key to this is to be able to move in a way that is effective, but doesn't make me sweaty or mess up my hair or get my makeup to run.
It could be in any clothing, anywhere.
Because otherwise, I'm going to have to designate time for it, and then I have to bookend that time with a shower and a change of clothes, and now I'm in my non-movement phase of my day where I'm getting my work done. And you're like, no, they can all be happening together, right? But I assume everything you're saying doesn't make me sweaty and look like I just came from the gym.
No, and I think that's where I want to spread exercise snacking. Globally, I want everyone to know what a game changer it is, because the other thing I've talked about is you may be the type of person that works out, gets up at the sort of 5 a.m. club, 6 a.m. club, whatever it is. You get your hour and a half done. And then what most people are doing in our modern technological, like lifestyle with work as well, and with hybrid working, is we're then sitting for 9 to 10 hours in a day. And the study that I've quoted in the book is, I think it's 2 hours of sitting negates 20 minutes of exercise. So for me, I want to encourage that regular movement. It doesn't have to be every half an hour.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
In what regard? Because it doesn't like undo the calorie, but it does undo some other. What are the specific benefits that it undoes on the 2 hours to 20 minutes ratio?
So I think the sort of, the whole title is like a slogan, sitting is the new smoking, because having those sedentary lifestyles where we are sitting, like where we're not using our muscles, our joints, our heart, our lungs, our respiratory system, where it's then leading to, chronic illnesses like type 2 diabetes, which are just rife, especially in my South Asian community, but everyone, even children, to obesity. It's really that sedentary lifestyle that I'm trying to explain is of detriment to our long-term health. So it's not that please carry on doing that morning workout. 100% is going to set you up for the day. And if that's your routine, it is amazing that you're doing that. So, I'm really proud of people that can do that. But at the same time, think about how we could just break up those long periods of sitting regularly with just a little bit of movement, and just know that every minute counts and it adds up, and it's as effective, if not more effective, than a longer workout for your blood pressure, for your metabolism, for your blood sugar levels, for your, your metabolic health. And even for weight loss, the studies are showing us. So it's a different mindset, but it's just about being active, right, through the day.
It's interesting. You talk about working out for sanity versus vanity. I feel like the vanity metrics are the ones that you go in and you blast in the gym for 45 minutes and you get swole and you get sweaty, and the vanity is the intense workout. The sanity is the snacking, is kind of how I see it.
100%. And it is, it's reframing the way we look at fitness, right? Because for me, having that six pack that you may see pictures lurking around in the internet, when I first qualified as a PT, I talk about it now. I'm going through perimenopause. A lot of women have that stubborn weight gain around the abdominal areas where your body's actually trying to do something incredible, and just it's where, the adipose tissue is where the body is producing that little bit of estrogen, and our estrogen levels are declining. So it's trying to grab hold of it and it just collects there. And it's, the menopause, the weight gain is such an issue, and it's 70% of women put on weight during the menopause. So I know for me that having an aspiration to have that six pack again, it's something that I've had to really train myself, especially as a public facing PT. And that's something that I've had to change my mindset on, that no, I'm focusing on health, on longevity, on just trying to maintain my sanity, my mental health, as opposed to trying to get that six pack, which I know is not sustainable in the long run. And I'm also being kinder to myself. So things like breathing techniques, like slower movements, like stretching, mobility for the joint pains, like all of the things. It's like a holistic framework of exercise. It's not cardio or HIIT training anymore. It's not just lifting the weights. It's how I can incorporate balance, stretch, mobility, have like these 5 pillars of areas that we go to. And breathing techniques, I forgot to mention, are incredible, especially in our stressful world. So I hope people can pick and mix is a kind of approach to my book. Kind of just pick it up, find something, and finding what you enjoy is probably the key to exercise, right? What I enjoy might be different to you. And just vary it up, keep the body challenged, keep your brain fit as well.
So on that note, I know we're actually out of time, sadly. So maybe, but I feel like that's a really good send-off note. At people that were really piqued by what you just said. Oh yeah, I want to learn more. What are the things I can pick and mix from? Would you please direct the audience to your book and anything and everything else you have to offer, please?
Oh, thank you. So the Feel Good Fix is it's published by Penguin. It's available on Amazon, all good bookshops. I have tons of workouts saved on my YouTube channel at Feel Good with Lavina. Get them out behind your desk, even standing options, and for all ages and abilities. And I'm on all social media, especially on Instagram. You'll see my day-to-day at Feel Good with Lavina. So I would love you all to start snacking and just experience the Feel Good Fix in your life.
Awesome. Well, I really, really appreciate you being a guest here. It's been a wonderful conversation. I feel very illuminated. As a 45-year-old man, I feel like I've learned a lot of important things. So thanks for being a guest. And I'm excited for the audience to go learn more.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And to all you viewers and listeners out there, you know what I'm going to say if you've seen the show before, but I'll say it anyways. You're the best part of this show. You're why we do it every single time. I'm so glad we got this time together, and I can't wait till next time. Take care.
If you loved that episode, then you're definitely gonna love this one. Check it out.
The first time I made 7 figures in a year, you think that's cause for celebration. I felt horrible. I felt like I wasn't worthy of it. I felt like it was bad. Do you understand how insane that is?